Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to RaceFace.Pro and welcome to the final round of the IndyCar Pro Series, the IndyCar Sprint Series here for Season 1 at the beautiful circuit of Sebring International. Now, our drivers are currently out on the track, getting their qualifying times in. Johan Fourie leading out the pack with Luka Logovic running in second place, trying to push a little bit harder to see where it's all going to work out. Drivers are looking to really step it up here tonight and push themselves a little bit more forward. John Jans van Rensburg so far going and having a great time out there. He's running in third and looking to really keep it ahead. Troy Dolanchik in fourth, Noah Hendricks, followed by Raymond Duggan, Malcolm Pringle, Steven Kutzer, Paul Webber, Luke Lucchesi in 10th, Robbie Teens, Etienne Swart, Werner Swart, and Leon Vessels. I can tell you from qualifying, though, drivers have been really pushing themselves. Luke Lucchesi, also a driver that has been really getting a bit more aggressive on the throttle, hoping to get that little bit more of an advantage on the track. So he's hoping to see where it all ends up. Leading out the pack, though, for our pro class is Troy Dolanchik, followed by Johan Fourie and likes of Van Rensburg running out the top three. Alex Moore running in fourth, Luka Logovic in fifth, Malcolm Pringle, Noah Hendricks, 8th place is Luke Lucchesi, followed by Ryan Ottens, and Paul Herber is rounding out our top 10 of our pro class. Moving on to our pro-am, though, it is Sean Sims leading out the pack for the Slowpokes, followed by Robbie Teens, Brandon Roberts, Steven Kutzer, Ruan de Toy, Leon Vessels, Werner Swart, Etienne Swart, Tienes Pohita, and Paul Webber rounding out the pack for our drivers to see what they can do. Where lots of questions are coming in of how it's going to work out for the start of the race. Lots of drivers have also been practicing that T1, trying to make sure that there is no contact between one another. And I can tell you from personal experience, out on the track with the guys, it was quite interesting to see how much space is actually given. Johan Fourie, though, out on a charge in first place. Troy Dolanchik in second with Luka Logovic running in third place. Now, Luka's had a great time to really push his way forward and stand in for an absolute huge run. But it's going to be a very big question if he can keep up the pace. Van Rensburg, trying to get a little bit more time, will be looking to really stand on the gas. Now, they do have push to passes to utilize here to ensure that they get ahead of the field, with majority of the field running in the 1 minute 42s to 1 minute 43s at this current, with a couple of stragglers sitting with the 146, 145s, just not finding their feet. Now, the one thing about these Indy cars that we got to also go and talk about is the drivers are going to have to give it everything they got on qualifying. But if they're using the white walls like what you see currently out on track with the likes of Ryan Ottens, they will have to start on that compound of tire to ensure that they can stay in for the huge battle. So that is going to change up your strategies with pit stops, and you have to switch to the alternative tire on the way through as well, which will be the red wall tires for the drivers to ensure that they keep going. So lots to think about here, and majority running on those white walls. They are not going and changing it up to anything different at this point on the different tire compounds, but they're hoping that that's going to be a working thing. Luka Logovic on the red walls is on the alternative set. That is the softer compound, along with Raymond Duggan running third and fourth respectively. Paul Webber is running on the alternative set. Brandon Roberts is running on the soft compounds, followed by Dino Machai and John Stewart running up our current pack that have started putting lap times in, and John Stewart actually running the purple and green, and that's very reminiscent of an old anime, if I remember correctly, called Evangelion. I think it was EVA 1, that had the purple and green to it. And good to see guys going and having a bit of a cultural run there, or just enjoying the colors. Like I said, blends out quite nicely. A couple of drivers not able to get times in is Tienes Pohita. He's still trying to get a time on the board. Vainan Kursop of the Team Pandacity trying to get a time on the board, and Sean Sims rounding out the pack. And remember, Sean Sims is one of the leading runners, so he has to really dig deep to try and ensure he stays for a bit of a drive. It's going to be a hard time for him, though, not to be caught out on the issue, and it's going to really sit out where this race is going to go and how they're going to be able to move their way forward. So drivers are going to have to really think a bit hard on how they're going to get this to work out, and it does look like Sean Sims not able to get a time. Van Kursop and Tianis Porchita not able to get a time. Dolanchik, though, on a proper drive, trying to get himself through the order. Currently in second place, will be lining up on the front row with Luka Logovic and Raymond Duggan. Also been on a huge climb. Mr. Duggan over here, after coming off the success of a 3-hour of Fuji this past weekend, unfortunately had contact that did drop him down, but he's able to go and get back in fighting as well. So good to see Raymond Duggan switching up focus, though, from tin tops to the likes of single-seater racing. Troy Dolanchik going and coming across the line, puts himself into first place with a 141.78, beating out Johan Freeze 141.940. And with this all being a fixed setup series as well, you can't really rely on the car setup to be the main win for you. You're going to have to try and work it out of what you can do with alternative compounds and also moving your brake biases. So who's going to be brave? Who's going to utilize all the aero that these Indy cars have as we switch over to our race? So with that being said, let's quickly take a look at the grid as the cars will be lining up shortly. And it is Troy Dolanchik going to be starting out in first place. Jan Free in second, Luka Logovic in third. Followed by Raymond Duggan, Jean-Jans van Rensburg, Ryan Ottens, Noah Hendricks, Steven Kutzer, Malcolm Pringle, Luke Lucchesi, Ruan de Toy, Paul Webber is running a little bit towards the back. Followed by the likes of Robbie Teens, Brandon Roberts, Werner Swart, Etienne Swart, Leon Vessels, Dina Machai, Jude Swart, along with Francois de Toy, John Stewart, along with Sean Sims, Tianis Porchita, and Vaynand Kursop rounding out the pack here tonight. As we get ready to go, 24 cars are looking to get running, and Vaynand Kursop quickly from pit wall going and saying, "Let's go!" From Old Wobble himself. Good to see her going and having a bit of fun out there. One of our drivers also, I think he's still actually streaming his races as well from his personal perspective, which is always fantastic to go and see drivers trying out different things, giving everyone a different perspective on how to go. Hopefully next season, though, we are working on getting drivers to, well, be a part of the show and utilizing their own cameras to be a part of it. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how the drivers react to that and how many times can they go and really get themselves out towards front. So with the grid all lined up, everyone ready to go. Beautiful shot of the Porsche pace car that's going to be going around. And we have to also talk about that little safety car. For many people that have grown up with iRacing, you would know the Porsche safety car. You would also know the Mustang that has been around since the inception of iRacing many, many years ago. That will actually have a little friend coming to it. There'll be the BMW M2 that will be a safety car as well. So this might be the very last time we actually see the Porsche safety car here at RaceFace.Pro for a little bit. And it will be replaced by one of the newer gen safety cars coming out. But we are going to concentrate on the race at hand with Johan Free and Troy Dolanchik going to be leading out the pack. Remember, they're on the harder compound tires, so they're going to have to try and get as much heat as possible. Luke Logovic, though, is going to be running on the softer compound tires, the red walls. He's going to be able to get those tires turned on quite quickly on the early stages of the race. But what is that going to mean for the later stages? This concrete circuit here at Sebring is definitely a high tire degradation zone because you have to really rely on that mechanical grip, especially heading out of turn 1, heading towards turn 2, turn 3. Now, if we can get a quick roll bar cam off our front pack, we can get a bit of an idea of how this is going to go. So this is into turn 2, left-hander, where you got to keep it close to the curb, straighten out into the right-hander, keep it as far right as possible before you swing the car in for a deep left into turn 4. Get on the gas, and it's flat out all the way up behind the safety car, well, behind everyone. And following, this is a very good zone to try and use a push to pass to ensure that you get the momentum. Heading up towards the top, though, is a heavy braking zone with the Indy cars able to brake at the 3-cone mark, where you can just go beyond it. You can get onto the brakes, bring it down through the gears. It's a first gear corner. Some may leave it in second to stop the cars from going and spinning out the rears. So they'll have to brake hard into a very tight right-hander, bring the gearing down, and swing the nose through. This is going to be flat out for the drivers as you put the power down, carry the momentum through. Got to be brave. The rear will start to lighten up on you quite a bit, and you want to ensure that you're on the right-hand side for this left-hand sweep before you gun it down towards our next heavy braking zone. This is going to be roughly a second to third gear corner for the cars. Third gear, if you got utilizing all the aero, hit the brakes, bring the revs down into third gear or into second if you're looking to get a lot of drive out. Put the power down, keeping it absolutely flat on the way through. Flat all the way through here, where your competitors can also push the pass. Very good idea to utilize it to try and follow around. You'll notice a lot of the drivers actually using a brake drag to just try and get these cars sorted out and try and just warm up the tires as much as possible. It does look like Troy Donaldschick, though, down into neutral and just trying to save a bit of fuel, quite possibly. It is creating a bit of a concertina effect, which is something we did not want to know. He's actually run into a bit of a problem, and that has landed up with a few people taking a knock behind him. So Troy Donaldschick landing up with a bit of an issue off the start of the race, and that unfortunately had a bigger tapering effect to all the drivers. So Raymond Duggan is going to have a bit of a hole shot here, lying in third place. Ryan Ottens and Luka Logovic are going to have a bit of a chance to also jump their way through. Luka Logovic is going to be the big win here, with Troy Donaldschick now missing in action. He's going to have a clear path to go for the charge and ensure that he can get the run through. Raymond Duggan, Van Rensburg, Ryan Ottens, all looking to step their way up. Noah Hendricks with Steven Kutzer hoping to get the run. As they make their way down the back straight, this is absolutely as flat as you can go. Getting into the toe, you want to try and tighten up, and you go down through the gears from 6th to 5th to 4th to 3rd. Hammer it down. Don't want to be too close to the inside line where the likes of Ferree is, because there is a nasty bump. As you can see, the suspension rising through on that inside. It does bottom the cars out and runs into a bit of a problem. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, for the final race of the season for 2024, and we are racing. Ferree off to a brilliant start, leaving out the pack. Luka Logovic getting absolutely swamped, trying to defend against Noah Hendricks, who dives up on the inside, all going through T1, and it's just running a little bit wide. Everyone fighting their way through. Van Rensburg up into second, late on the brakes, swings across the nose of Noah Hendricks. Luka Logovic trying to come back at him around the outside, couldn't quite get the drive, and now Noah Hendricks a little bit further down. Ryan Otten's going to have a good shot at him and carry a lot of momentum, but Ryan Otten's dealing with the charging. Remember, softer compound. Raymond Duggan of Rad Racing is going to have a good shot to try and go through. Malcolm Pringle looking where he can get on. Has to slam on the anchors, nearly having his own teammate Stephen Kutzer into the back of him. Luke Bekesi getting the pass. Oh, contact! And unfortunately, that is a monster hit. And it looks like quite a few cars, unfortunately, getting into the mix there. Luke Bekesi being one of them that's on the receiving end of a huge, huge hit. And unfortunately, that's going to drop him way down. Raymond Duggan looks like he is all okay. But Luka Logovic, with that broken rear wing, will now have to get the car into the pits. He's getting overtaken by Brandon Roberts up on the inside. A little bit squeezed there. Brandon Roberts going to lose out a bit of momentum here. That's going to allow Toy to have a shot at him. Werner Swart, Vanan Kursop trying to make the climb, along with Robbie Teams, Etienne Swart, Leon Vessels, Luke Bekesi, John Swart, Sean Sims, Stewart also having a go at him. Tianis Porchita, Stephen Kutzer is trying to get the car around with a broken front suspension. Troy Donaldschick is trying to get the climb back after losing out a lot of momentum. And Francois Dutoy trying to get himself back in for the fight. Noah Hendricks and Guillaume Machai, unfortunately, on the receiving end of a big, big impact. And now I have to try and figure out where they can go through. So far, Ferree getting the jump. Van Rensburg into second place. Remember, he's third in the championship. This is a big opportunity for him. Ryan Ottens trying to keep ahead of Malcolm Pringle, doing everything he can to carry a lot of momentum through and trying to really power his way on. Raymond Duggan opening up the gap. Paul Webber, Brandon Roberts, but down behind, we have got Toy going and having a bit of a loss to the likes of Troy Donaldschick, trying to make up a lap at this point. Donaldschick just trying to overtake the field and get himself back into the fight. But Werner Swart of the Ultra Carpet Racing having to deal with Vanan Kursop of the Pandacity Esports all over the back of him, trying to really get the power down early on. Looks for the inside, couldn't quite get that pass done and dusted. We'll have to back it off, wait for the pass, and really just focus on his charge all the way back. And I can tell you that Chris Simmons going and saying good luck to Vaynot will be on the radio, busy trying to give some words of encouragement at this point as he keeps onto the back of this driver here, Werner Swart of the Altered Carbon Racing, trying to keep up as much momentum as possible. Sean Sims, who started at the back of the field, he is onto the back of Jude Stewart ahead of him. Now Jude trying to get the power away to really get into it. You can see how tight of a line he's actually running to ensure that he stays within a fighting chance of the drivers. Raymond Duggan of Radical Racing, he also going and booting it around the track, closing up the gap to Malcolm Pringle, who is losing a lot of straight line here, and we'll have to start thinking about now. One thing we've got to talk about, these drivers are used to 30-minute races, Heat 1, Heat 2. Well, for the final round, it is a 1 hour, 20-minute race that the drivers are going to have to be battling their way through, and considering the pit stops of how this is going to work out, what your fuel usage is going to be, who's going to be able to get the climb up, what are your tires going to look like, that is going to be the many concessions that the drivers are going to have to think about during the course of this race to ensure that they stay within a fighting chance as they battle their way through. Noah Hendricks trying to get his way around. Remember, he had that unfortunate accident on the start, and now just trying to keep it out of the way of a couple of drivers. Doesn't want to get too interfered with it. Unfortunately, his pit stop plans have changed quite drastically, and will be trying to close up the gap to Francois de Toy as he lets the rest of the field go. Raymond Duggan closing up that gap to Malcolm Pringle, and just ahead of him, Ryan Ottens leading out the train. So Ryan Ottens is currently pulling Malcolm Pringle along and being able to really get in for the fight once again. So this is going to be a bit of a difficult time for Ryan Ottens to defend as he bottoms the car out, bouncing around all over the show, doing everything he can to just keep the momentum up at the moment. Ryan Ottens with Malcolm Pringle closing up that gap right behind him, really trying to stand on the gas, drops a wheel on the dirt. Couldn't quite get the drive. We'll have to follow it through. Malcolm Pringle being a little bit cautious at the moment. Raymond Duggan having a good throw towards the likes of them. And Troy Dolenchik around the outside of Paul Webber. Beautiful run there. And Paul Webber keeping a very tight line at the moment to ensure that he doesn't get caught out. Brandon Robert immediately looking to go for a pass. Looks up on the inside. Couldn't quite get the drive. Will have to keep his power on the gas. Down the back straight they go. Both on soft compound tires. Brandon Roberts is going to have a bit of a run here for the Proton Velocity team as he keeps nice and tucked in. Tries to look for the inside line. Couldn't quite go for the undercut. Just going to keep in the tow. Pulling himself along and ensuring that he can stay in for the fight. Will have to try and get a little bit of straight line speed as we take a look to Ryan Ottens, currently in third place with Malcolm Pringle pushing on to the back of him, seeing where he can try and get on by. Going to be a bit of a hard work here. Now, remember, Ryan Ottens is also within the championship fight. At the moment, he is currently sitting in 9th position, but wanting to score as many points as possible to go and jump his way through the order. The likes of Jean van Rensburg is running in second with and lying third in the championship, has got second place in the championship, currently leading out the pack as Troy Dolenchik is trying to fight his way from the back to ensure he stays in for the fight and keep at least some of the points for tonight. And considering this is the final race, he's gonna have to really give it his horns. Brandon Robert going a bit around the outside, around the inside, looking for any gaps. Going to go late on the anchors and just not able to get past the Batmobile as yet. Paul Webber keeps on the gas and really powers his way through. Brandon Robert trying to come back at him. Webber utilizing all parts of the circuit at this point to just keep himself in order. A little bit of a touch on the dirt. That is going to put a bit of dirt onto the tires. He's going to have to try and scrub that out and be rather patient as they battle their way out. So this is going to be a very, very difficult time at the moment. Ensure that they can keep going nonetheless. So how the drivers are going to be able to keep themselves all together for an hour and 20 at this sort of pace, it's going to be a tough time. Brandon Robert all over the back, now closing up. As you can see, as we jump on board up into 6th gear, he's not using any of those push passes as yet. A trick to see for the cars using push pass is on the steering wheel. You'll notice the triangles on the left and the right will turn green. Well, it's 3rd gear, it's 4th gear, it's carrying on as they charge their way down the main straight. Paul Webber under pressure though, looking to defend on the inside. Brandon Robert around the outside, can't try and go for the cutback, very close to the dirt. Going to stick it side by side, wheel to wheel, elbow to elbow, knees to toes, and they are making their way through. Absolutely well done from there, but that has allowed Rowan DeToy. Oh, he's outbraked himself and off into the weeds. Here comes Werner Swart, going to say thank you very much on that one. An easy overtake for him as he gets himself going. Rowan DeToy who got a bit too close for comfort there. Unfortunately, loses out the run and will have to go refocus and re-strategize on his race. Sean Sims trying to make his way past the likes of Jude Stewart. Looks for the inside, couldn't quite get the pass done. Goes late on the anchors, tries to make it work. Unfortunately, not able to get that run just as yet. Jude just keeping enough momentum to hold himself towards the sharp end of the field. Vanon Kursov trying to keep going as he has got the likes of Francois Latoy going and closing up on him. And Francois not backing down, gets into the slipstream, pulling himself along. And you can see Vanon Kursov clipping the curbs a little bit, getting a bit unsteady as he gets onto the power. Will suddenly have Detoy all over the back of him. So Kursov's going to have to really play a smart game here of how defensive does he want to go. A little clip on the dirt though. You can see the tires getting a little bit of dirt on them, and it does land up taking a lot of drive out of them. Raymond Duggan finding out 5th and 4th place with Malcolm Pringle. Unfortunately, getting into a bit of a tough time out there. Malcolm Pringle is trying to get going, and unfortunately also having some net coding error, and that is because he is out on a farm, believe it or not, and racing from a farm and not having an easy time out there. Obviously, with connection does make it rather difficult to race against someone like that, but these drivers are absolute pros, showing what they can do. Brandon Robin on the inside, getting the pass done and dusted, launches his way by, gets it hooked in. Paul Webber tries to come back at him and could not get that done. Absolutely stunning go around from it, and what a run from the likes of our drivers. And I just want to go and take a look at Brandon Roberts on that one, because this is what he did. This is onboard Brandon Roberts up on the inside, keeping the power down the whole way through, late on the anchors, brings the pace down and pulls himself ahead, just going and getting that undercut. Well, Paul Webber unfortunately had a little bit of understeer coming into play with him and is going really into a tough time out there. It's going to be a tough race for an hour and 20 minutes in these cars. 30 minutes is already a difficult race for the drivers. Now you add a little bit more time of an hour and 20, and I've got to say, it's quite awesome to have a longer styled race. Well, not if you're Tinas Porchita at the moment with a broken nose. Once he pulls in the pits, they're going to have to replace that nose, but the front end aero completely gone on him, so he's just finding it difficult to get that nose to tuck in at the moment and stay within the fight. Others still giving it everything they got. 24 cars still circulating out on track at the moment. And let's go through the running order as 10 minutes has gone by. Johan Free out in first, followed by John Jans van Rensburg. Ryan Ottens chasing him down. Malcolm Pringle, followed by Raymond Duggan. Then we got Troy Dolenchek, who's made his way up through the order after coming to a halt on the pace lap, and now just trying to carve his way from the back. Brandon Roberts in 7th, Paul Webber chasing him down. Then we have got Werner Swart getting chased down by Ruin de Toy as they've snaked their way through turn 1. Robbie Teens, and then we have got Etienne Swart, Leon Vessels, Jude Swart, along with Sean Sims. Vanon Kursov out on track. Francois de Toy in 17th. Luka Logovic running in 18th. Tinas Porchita trying to make his way around. Suddenly now having Luke Leclerc, was involved in that earlier contact, trying to claw his way back from the brink. Looks for the inside, trying to get the pass done and dusted, and will make quick work of the likes of Tinas Porchita. So 19th and 20th has changed. Noah Hendricks in 21st. Stephen Kutzer running in 22nd, followed by John Stewart. And then rounding out the pack, Dino Machai, who is giving it everything he can. Not quite being that Tai Chi at the moment, and it's a little bit stressed out beyond belief. Ryan Ottens, though, unfortunately, big off for Ryan Ottens. And now that is the front suspension absolutely decimated on the car. And what on earth happened to Ryan Ottens? Let's quickly go and try and take a look of what happened to him. So dropped a wheel on the dirt, snap oversteer towards the wall, smashes the nose, smashes out that right front suspension, and just trying to limp it back home at this point. You can see eventually the tire just going and latching itself at the moment. And unfortunately, Ryan Ottens is going to have a very long, difficult drive back to pits. He's going to attempt to try and limp his way through, get that minimum time loss. They do have quite a few spares in the pits to put these cars together, but it does open up for the drivers to make their way around and claw up some really good positions. Troy Dolenchek putting in the fastest lap time of 1:42.066 at the moment, with Raymond Duggan onto the front, onto the back of Malcolm Pringle. So Dolenchek keeping a huge amount of momentum at the moment, bouncing over the curbs, really trying to keep it all together. Malcolm Pringle is going to be just inside, and Dolanchik not hanging around, looks for the inside, couldn't get the pass done. Raymond Duggan closing that corner off. These two know each other from a bit going right back in GT racing. It used to be the IRSA and GTEs and Porsche Cup, where Troy Dolanchik and Raymond Duggan have done constant battle, then into LMP2 as well. It looks like Raymond Duggan has not forgotten Troy Dolanchik's antics of trying to late break and be the last of the late breakers at the moment. Absolutely going and defending that middle of the line. He's got the tires to hold out, but for how long can they hold out? 8 laps down, and they will be taking a bit of strain on this very hot circuit, while Troy Dolanchik starting to make up a lot of time as he makes a bit of momentum through. Raymond Duggan of the Radical Racing in the Nike colors, beautiful colors, having that blue and silver, just trying to break away early on, but Dolanchik into the toe will be pulling himself along. I think we'll be eyeing out turn 1. DeToy all over the back of Werner Swart. This is for a battle for 8th and 9th at the moment, as the drivers doing everything they can to keep up the momentum. Werner Swart hoping that he can just close up that gap a little bit closer to one another and really get back in for the fight. It's going to be a difficult time though. Not everyone's going to have an easy run, and Werner Swart keeping it very tight on the way through, trying to defend the inside line. It's going to compromise his drive on the exit, but Rowan DeToy a little bit too far out, lost out the drive as well, so it's a double whammy in that respect. You've got a very fine line through the final corner, despite there's a lot of space, as we do see DeToy trying to go around the outside. Werner Swart doing everything he can to defend, unfortunately stuck on the outside. DeToy gets the pass in, beautiful, done and dusted, and now on his way through. So great run there for our drivers. Dolanchik still battling it out with Raymond Duggan, keeping his elbows out at the moment and ensuring that it's not going to happen. This is going to allow Malcolm Pringle a little bit of reprieve, as Raymond will be looking in his mirrors, not really of what's ahead of him. So he's going to have to look for everyone doing whatever they can as they drivers make their way through. It's going to be a hard race, and this is the thing, it's a 1 hour 20 minutes. How much are you willing to risk at the moment? You got to really think about the strategies that's coming into it. Yes, you can really go for that huge dive bomb. You can really go for that look on the inside, but if you get it wrong, there's no ABS saving you. You will lock up these tires, you will flat spot them, and as we've seen, one mistake can land up in the most crucial bit of damage that can end your race in a flash. So the drivers are going to have to keep that well in mind while they're battling it out. Etienne Swart of the Extreme trying to break away from Leon Vessels behind him, and he tries to close up the gap, and just ahead of him is Luke Lucchesi, but Leon Vessels keeping in the tow, trying to close up that gap little by little at the moment. Towards the final corner, going to go late on the brakes, looks on the inside, trying to get the pass done and dusted, and unfortunately Etienne Swart stuck on the outside, couldn't get the momentum through. Vessels gets the pass in, and now absolutely gunning it by to try and break away from Swart as they head into turn 1. Late on the anchors, swings the nose through, and I think he's done enough to just keep it all in check. Jude Stewart trying to go and have a good look and fight it out with Sean Sims. Sean's up on the inside. Jude unfortunately going wide, loses out that bit of momentum, and now down the order he goes, having to really do everything he can. Vano Kursop into the pit lane, getting a bit of work done to his car, and will be heading back out shortly. So definitely some tough times out there. Drivers having to really think about their strategies and the planning that comes into it. Where are they going to really battle it out? I mean, this is going to be a difficult race for the drivers, and really see how it's going to go. Drivers are having to really rely on what the car feels to them, and Luke Lucchesi going and running against Noah Hendricks. Now in practice, these two were going door to door, elbow to elbow, and going and pushing each other to the absolute limit, and that started about an hour before the race broadcast. They were going nose to tail until they both emptied a tank at the lastminute.com. So Luke Lucchesi trying to carry a lot of momentum. Noah Hendricks holding that inside line a little bit tight, is going to slowly grain his tires. He gets very close to the tire, gets to the concrete wall. Now Noah Hendricks is going to have a look around and try and defend that inside line, well, outside line, and Luke Lucchesi gets the pass done and dusted without too much of a worry. Noah Hendricks tries to look for the undercut, couldn't quite get the pass done and dusted. did look to try and go for it. Unfortunately, just couldn't have the momentum. Raymond Duggan now into the pits, getting himself sorted out for his race, and will be back out on track. Luka Logovic onto the back of Francois du Toit, doing everything he can to get onto the climb. The Power Wheels Racing, not hanging around with the RCA written on the side of it, chasing down the likes of du Toit, just keeping ahead, and the Slowpoke Racing watching his mirrors like a hawk at the moment to ensure he stays in for the run. Raymond Duggan coming out of the pits, immediately closes up on Sean Sims, now putting a huge amount of pressure onto the back of him, looking left, looking right, and Raymond Duggan, who's got a bit of fresher tyres, has to try and get them up to temp though, looks up on the inside, gets a pass done. Sean Sims going to try and go side by side, couldn't quite get the drive on him, and Raymond Duggan getting the pass in and dusted, trying to open up the gap a little bit further on the way through. So he's on the climb to get back towards the sharp end of the field with 18 minutes now completed of the race, 11 laps done and dusted. Remember, this is an hour and 20 minutes of nose-to-tail racing, and the drivers will be doing quite a bit. Unfortunately, yellow flags for Francois du Toit. Francois du Toit a little bit runs out wide, clips the dirt. Oh, just has the car turn around on him. So trying to do everything he can. Unfortunately, the car was a little bit wild and unfortunately loses out the rear. Troy Dolenchik now into the pits to get his pit stop done and dusted so he can get back out on track. Du Toit keeping up a bit of momentum, dives up onto the back of Paul Webber. That Batmobile is doing everything he can to try and defend, and it does look like they're going to go side by side. Webber trying to go back to the middle of the circuit, goes for a little bit of a defense. Du Toit trying to swap around, goes to the inside line, late on the anchors. Who's going to be able to get their way through? Unfortunately, Paul Webber very out wide into the dirt. That is going to allow the pass to happen. Du Toit gets on by, and now Werner Swart has an opportunity to go at Paul Webber, who's going to be trying to get those dirt off the tires so he can get back in towards the race and really close up. So definitely not an easy time out there. Troy Dolenchik late on the anchors, getting past Sean Sims on his return out of the pits. But take a look who's in front of him. Raymond Duggan once again becoming that thorn in one side to ensure that he keeps up the fight. This is going to be an interesting one because Dolenchik was hoping that the overcut would work against the likes of him, but it's not going to be an easy time out there. A little bit of a touch on the dirt, both getting a bit squeamish and now having to figure out what's going to happen. So Raymond Duggan still keeping up that successful charge. Stuart Stewart losing out a bit of momentum as he comes out of the pits and deals with Vaynon Kersop now starting to open up the gap and do everything he can to stay within a fighting chance. Werner Swart closing up the gap to Paul Webber, trying to get the pass done and dusted. They will need to come into the pits at some point and get their car sorted out. So going and running out too late is going to be a huge compromising time for them as we do take a look at our drivers trying to make their way through. Leader being a huge run away from a lot of the drivers, so everyone having to think, okay, what's the best time to get into the pits? What's going to be the best opportunity for each of the drivers? And so far, Troy Dolenchik getting past Raymond Duggan gets pitted on lap 11. Managed to get that pass done. Raymond Duggan will have another go at him. And this does show you how it's going to go. So Troy Dolenchik, Raymond Duggan are going to be on the climb here for a lot of positions on the way through. Sean Sims, though, keeping within the tow, pulling himself along. Remember, Sean Sims doesn't really have to get into a fight as he is running in the Pro-Am class, and he's got two pros ahead of him. So last thing he wants to do is get involved with this fight, rather pull himself along and try and break away from the field around him. So Sean Sims leading out the pack in the championship, has got a bit of a climb to catch up to the drivers ahead of him, but has an opportunity to win big here tonight by just scoring enough points and to ensure that he secures his victory in the championship. Leon Vessels, followed by Robbie Teens, having a good go at one another, and Robbie Teens just going and slightly keeping ahead of Leon Vessels, but not able to get too far ahead under braking. It seems to be a little less confident in the car under braking, rather going a more reserved approach, try and lengthen out those tires a little bit more, maybe lifting and coasting a bit to save a bit of fuel on the way through as they try and make up as much time as possible. It's gone past the 20-minute mark, and now we're into the closing stages where it's only an hour left of the race, and drivers now will start feeling the fatigue. Remember, we've had 30-minute races with a quick 5-minute break in between. The drivers are able to get their breath back before they get back in. This is the longest race of the season, and drivers are going to have to really keep going. It's a continuous fight, and they will really have to look towards it. As we do see Francois Toy landing up into the dirt. That's going to allow Ryan Ottens to get that clean pass. Werner Swart, Leon Vessels, and the likes of Ron Toy all into the pits as we all shuffle around yet again with Troy Dolenchik and Raymond Duggan getting the run here. But Sean Sims having a close look at Raymond Duggan, trying to see where he can get by. Is starting to get the climb through. Has to get past 3 more drivers, Malcolm Pringle, Robbie Teens, and Etienne Swart, to ensure that he stays there for a fight. But Raymond Duggan is keeping up a consistent pace of a 142 at the moment. So the last thing you want to do is go and break out that train. And considering you're also trying to save a bit of fuel on the process, it's not going to be an easy time out there for the likes of Sean Sims. He's going to have to start trying to think of the big game here. What's going to be the running order? How are you going to close up that gap, and where is it all going to happen? Ryan Ottens getting the pass on Leon Vessels. Leon Vessels, unfortunately, a little bit into the dirt there. And now Ryan Ottens will be trying to close up to Paul Webber, who's onto the back of Werner Swart. Werner just keeping a very hard defense at the moment against the likes of Paul Webber into the corners. He's able to try and carry a lot of momentum. Both have a very similar strategy in terms of their pit strategy, lap 12 and lap 13. But where is this going to work out for them? Because Ryan Ottens is on an older set of tires, but is running a faster pace. As we do see Ferrari, Van Rensburg, and Pringle all pulling into the pits. Will Robbie Teens be the next one to dive into the pits, or he's going to try and go one extra lap? He's trying to stay away from Etienne Swart and Sean Sims at the moment as he gets a little bit of momentum through. Troy Dolenchik just trying to close up that gap as much as possible, keeping it all together. And they do have those push-to-passes, but they are very, very limited at the run. Robbie Teens comes through. Jan Free now out of pit lane, leading out the pack. Will get it through. Malcolm Pringle pulls into the pits. Robbie Teens into the pits. It means Troy Dolenchik is going to get the climb. Gets up the positions and right onto the gearbox of Van Rensburg ahead of him. Van Rensburg, unfortunately, off into the dirt, trying to carry a lot of momentum, and Dolenchik getting the pass on him. Dolenchik now back up into second. Unfortunately, falls off circuit. That's going to have Van Rensburg up on the inside. Gets the pass done and dusted. Got to get elbows out. Dolenchik into the dirt, trying to carry as much momentum, and Van Rensburg has got to give it horns here. Dolenchik is fighting now for the championship. Van Rensburg currently running third in the championship. Going to go later in the braking. Dolenchik couldn't quite get that pass done and dusted. Really keeps right onto the back of the gearbox, seeing where he can get any bit of momentum to stay within the fight as they claw their way around the circuit. And Van Rensburg, 4 Team Slowpokes, trying to take it to the Sujin driver of Troy Dolenchik, who is really giving it horns, and right ahead of them is that looks to be Ryan Ottens, quite possibly. No, that is one of the Slowpoke Racing. There's number 18 car. That is Tinas Porchita ahead, and Tinas may be the linchpin here. He moves out of the way, allows Troy Dolenchik to come through, but does definitely move way off track, not to impede the likes of Van Rensburg too much on the chase. But now it's going to be guns ablaze for both drivers, and Van Rensburg needs to get a bit of heat into those tires to ensure that he can get back in for a fight. Malcolm Pringle closing up onto the back of Sean Sims now, and Sean doing everything he can to just try and keep it together, middle of the circuit, trying to hold it against his own teammate. Will be trying to get into the pit lane to get it all done and dusted. Where is he going to come out during the course of it? We're going for a very late overcut, and unfortunately I think may be very detrimental to his race. Van Rensburg onto the gearbox once again of Troy Dolenchik. Another one, Paul Webber and Werner Swart, and Etienne Swart with Leon Vessels having a good go to try and make up that little bit of ground. But tires are starting to take a bit of strain. We do know now the drivers can do roughly about 20 minutes worth of racing before they have to get their pit stops done, dusted, and back out on track before they can get going once again. So drivers are really trying to figure out what they can do here, and the likes of Van Rensburg may have a saving grace as Dolenchik has now another Team Slowpokes driver ahead of him to contend with, and that is the number 24 going and keeping a run, and that is Ron DeToy, who is stone cold last at the moment, trying to catch up to John Stewart. But will he be able to keep Troy Dolenchik a little bit busy through the corners as he tries to make his way through for Jens van Rensburg? He's going to try and keep up as much momentum as upping into the toe, pulling himself along, and Toy onto the back, trying to figure out how he can get past John Stewart. Now remember, these two are fighting at full position, and here comes the sharp end in the field. John Stewart runs across the nose of Troy Dolenchik. He is slowed down to try and let the drivers through, and Ruan du Toit is going to capitalize on the moment, gets really up against Gearbox, and Troy Dolenchik does compromise his own teammate, is now trying to swing across the nose. He gets past John Stewart, allows Van Rensburg to get on by, but Van Rensburg stuck too far out, loses a lot of momentum. Oh, that is John into the wall, and major damage, outbraking himself and smashing the car to pieces. You can see trying to limp it back into the pits. Not an easy time out there. Etienne Swart onto the back of Leon Vessels as they make their way through. So unfortunately for Van Rensburg, what he thought could be the saving grace of his teammate turned out to be a bit of a devil on the shoulder there, going and forcing him on the outside, not able to get the drive down hard enough to get onto the back of Troy Dolenchik's gearbox down the straight. So he's definitely going to be having to try and figure that one out and get back in for the fight. Etienne Swart all over the back of Leon Vessels. Vessels runs out wide, very close to the wall, trying to get a bit of momentum to Robbie Teens as they make their way on by. Steven Kutzer now into the pit lane, getting himself all sorted out. John coming back out onto the track after having a bit of an accident. He is now able to get that car up and going. Tires are going to be a bit cold though, so he's going to have to be a bit cautious, and Ruan du Toit has got a lot of gaps to him, but currently closest fight out on circuit, Leon Vessels and Etienne Swart all over the back of one another. Swart runs out a little bit wide, trying to keep up as much momentum as possible, really hanging on to the back. As we jump on board, you can see the lights flashing. This is Push the Boss, trying to utilize it to close down the gap late onto the anchors. A bit of a lockup from Leon Vessels as they battle their way through. So keep an eye on the steering wheel, and there it is. Push the Boss striking yet again on the car, as we do see Etienne Swart trying to utilize it as an attacking method, tries to look for the inside line, couldn't get the pass done and dusted. Leon Vessels, on the other hand, just going and keeping a more conservative approach, not using the push to passes as yet. He is trying to just maintain that little bit of momentum, save it for a little bit later as they get the momentum through, really gunning it down. Will have a bit of a problem as Swart's got the flat out open here. Unfortunately, not using the push to pass to try and capitalize on it. It's going to go late on the brakes, just keep it all together and really try and close up. Down the back straight they go. And this is going to be a very interesting time because Ryan Ottens is now closed up the back. And Ryan Ottens is not going to be hanging around at this moment. He's going to give it horns, and also using the push to pass to try and close up to Etienne Swart. Push to pass, and Leon Vessels push to pass in a defensive. So a bit of a horrible train for the drivers. Ryan Ottens takes a very close drive in, loses out a bit of momentum. Swart tries to take a little bit of a tighter line through the final corner to carry the momentum. Unfortunately, that didn't work. Luka Logovic now into the pits, try and get himself sorted yet again to continue on with the race. Late under the brakes for Swart, drifts out a bit wide. Tires starting to take a beating, and you will see the likes of Ryan Ottens starting to close up that gap, and a rate of not having too much of an issue with the understeer. He is on the harder compound tires, so it is going to take a little bit more time to keep it all in order, but in the longer run, he has got the advantage over Etienne Swart. And considering Etienne Swart is suffering a bit at the moment, he does try to go defensive inside line to hold back Ryan Ottens. Etienne really doing everything he can behind Leon Vessels, who is also just watching his concertina effect, and just ahead of them is also another fight. Robbie Teens and Paul Webber having a go at one another, and this is also landing up with both drivers slowing each other down and allowing the train to soon become a very, very ugly train of 5 cars all over the back of one another. And a little bit of contact as Robbie Teen sinks it too deep into the corner, breaks the front end nose. That has got Leon Vessels trying to get on by. He loses out a bit of momentum. Swart trying to give a shot, couldn't get the pass done, and here comes Ryan Ottens up on the inside. Swart going to try go late on the anchors, goes and gives it everything he's got. He's caught up behind Robbie Teens, can't get the pass done, looks up on the inside once again. Ryan Ottens going to have the drive, but gets held up, gets into the toe, pulls himself along. Ryan Ottens stuck on the outside now, is going to have the charge, getting into the final corner. And that is a big turn of events for both drivers. Ryan Ottens trying to go out wide, Swart forcing him out a little bit further. Ryan Ottens looks for the undercut, fortunately not able to get the momentum through. But that is Paul Webber, who is now into the fight as well to really get on the defense and see where the drivers are going to go. Swart tries to look for the inside line. Etienne not having a good time out there. Webber keeping it very defensive, keeps a very close train with Ryan Ottens. onto the tail, and I think he's going to be wishing for Ryan Ottens to keep going onto the attack, keep laying the pressure into Etienne Swart at the moment to ensure that he stays in for the fight. And you've got Ryan Ottens really hungry for that spot, trying to figure out any bit of momentum. Etienne Swart now looking to go side by side. Paul Weber late under braking. Can he get it done though? Couldn't quite get it. Ryan Ottens tries to come across side by side. Ooh, a bit of wheel-to-wheel contact there between Swart and the likes of Ryan Ottens. Little bit of contact, unfortunately, but only to the tires. And that's probably just saved both cars onto it. Swart trying to get as much momentum, now runs out a bit wide. And I think those tires have reached their due at this point and is just costing him a bit of time. But he's wanting to stick it out as long as possible out there to stay on the tail of the likes of Paul Weber, who's now opened up the gap. Ryan Ottens closing up at a rate of knots, is just shy of that top 10. And really trying to throw it all on the line, sliding his way through. Etienne Swart doing everything he can to maintain at least a good pace that can help him out for the rest of this race and ensure that the championship points are coming his way. But Ryan Ottens looks up on the inside, going to go late on the anchors. Swart, unfortunately, he's going to have a rough time around the outside, not able to go on the attack. He's going to try go for a bit of defense, too far out wide, can't get that nose to pivot in. Ryan Ottens gets a pass hooked in and now needs to focus on closing up to Paul Weber, who's got Leon Vessels just ahead of him. Leon Vessels will be starting to stress at this point as they make their way through. Malcolm Pringle trying to close up to Raymond Duggan as they make their way around the circuit, really giving it horns at the moment. And drivers trying to figure out that little bit of momentum, that extra bit of time. Some great racing happening. Sean Sims, unfortunately, and Robbie Teens pulling into the pits, and they had a little bit of a spin earlier that was part of our yellow flags that came out for a brief time. Unfortunately, that is costing them a fair amount of time. Robbie Teens and Sean Sims now starting to get themselves out. Sean coming out of pit lane gets a position away from Robbie Teens, but that also does affect what the current running of where they're going to get into the pits and if they're going to need to do a late pit stop. Ryan Ottens onto the back of Paul Weber, looking inside, looks outside, keeps up a toe, keeping it close, looks for the inside once again, trying to favor that right-hand mirror, and that seems to be Ryan Otten's best approach, is to lean onto the right-hand mirror as much as possible, tries to switch it out to the left, and really try to go late braking. Unfortunately, the marble's not going to play into his favor here, but Ryan Ottens is Achilles heel on his attack every single lap, seems to be going towards the right-hand side, that more dominant side for him, as he is right-handed. So he tries to keep that focus up on there. That's something he's carried over from Assetto Corsa Competizione. If you go back in RaceFace.Pro history, you could see he focuses on the right, tries to wear you down on the one side the whole time. Even though that there is a left-hand corner, he can really lean on the left. He does try and keep that focused on the right, wear down the right-hand arm, get you focusing on that, keep you looking away from the apexes, and also keep you watching your mirrors at the entire time. An old tactic, but a very, very clever tactic. But these drivers are absolute pros as they keep it gunning through. Sean Sims with Francois Dutoit just ahead of him as the Team Slowpoke Racing is trying to do everything he can. Yellow flags coming in for Steven Kutzer though. And what happened to him? Mr. Kutzer of Team Slowpokes runs out wide. A little too wide, unfortunately. Gets the rear stepping out underneath him. Tries to counter steer. Quick spin around, back into gear, hold the clutch and get going once again. And a beautiful pirouette, but dives into the pits. Ooh, not too sure if that is going to be liked by our stewards, though. Unfortunately, that will get a penalty by the looks of it, and that will be for unsafe pit entry, unfortunately, coming into play. Luka Logovic in the pass down on the likes of Etienne Swart, gets it hooked in, gets it done, and now continues on the momentum with the likes of Etienne Swart just keeping a bit of a toe. So, I mean, it is a tough time out there, and especially when you get a spin like that, you cross over the cones, which is a big no-no. Here in iRacing, you're not allowed crossing the solid white lines. You will get a penalty that will need to be served during the course of the race, and get yourself done and dusted. For the likes of our drivers that unfortunately do lose the rear and land up in the pit lane, either speeding or hooking over those solid lines, you land up in a serious world of hurt. you're going to have to really try and figure out where you can go through. But these Indy cars are very, very tricky cars nonetheless. No traction control, no ABS, high aero. But if you lose that little bit of suction to the ground, you lose that little bit of aero, it becomes a very difficult car to drive. As a quick touch on the dirt, as we do see Paul Webber gets on the inside, gets a pass done on Leon Vessels, who tried going for a bit of a defense, couldn't quite work out there, and now Luka Logovic onto the back of him, trying to close up that gap as fast as possible. Taking a look over to our virtual grandstands, we have got Jakob Robler going and giving a bit of a shout, along with Design Mark 1, trying to also keep an eye. Shirley Westrand going and cheering on as well. It's good to see a lot of our drivers and also fans, petrol heads from around the world of sim racing, all joining in and joining the celebration for the final race of the season for the Indy cars at this point, and the drivers doing everything they can. Now, we can lean into something for everyone to just get themselves prepared for 2025, as there is currently a vote down in the pits of what is going to race where. So the GT3s are going to be a staple here at RaceFace.Pro for the iRacing, but for our second class, which is currently our IndyCar, as soon as they will be done with the racing, we will see a change from IndyCar to another class by the looks of it, and that may well be very... At the moment, it's sitting between two class of cars. One being the BMW, well, three classes. There's BMW M2 that's coming to iRacing, and that is going to be a very, very new car, completely free car that drivers can get to race around with the BMW M2, which is going to be a huge amount of fun. If you're a big fan of the Toyota 86, if you're enjoying front engines, a little bit, understeer, a little bit of a friendly car for newer drivers, and you don't have to worry about great speeds, high aero, and what it does to the tires, it's definitely that next step. Before that, well, next step after that is going to be heading towards your GT4s. But the others, well, is a little bit more surprising. The super lights may actually go and display themselves here for 2024 for the drivers to have a bit of fun. And finally is the big one, the one that's got everyone going and smiling ear to ear. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, next year for 2025, we may have a race of note. We may have the first championship here in South Africa utilizing the Aussie V8s, the supercar V8s. They'll be out on track. There will be the Gen 3s utilizing the Ford Mustang, and the Camaro may make their first appearance here at RaceFace.Pro, and will be the first long championship here in South Africa, to the best of my knowledge, that will be utilizing the Aussie supercars. So that is a big drop that the drivers are going back and forth on to see whether they can get those cars out and have a bit of fun with them, or will we continue on with the single seaters, or will it be something different like the BMW M2? So definitely worth going and taking a look here at RaceFace.Pro and joining in if you are interested in the racing nonetheless. Leon Vessels though in 10th position, closing up to Paul Webber, as Paul Webber in the Batmobile trying to keep it all together. Drivers maintaining a good bit of pace, 24 laps in. Now, this is where the drivers are starting to feel it, as they are officially 11 minutes into their second heat that would have been happening during the course of the season. So this would be 11 minutes into that second heat. They've completed the first one, and now they're going to really step up that gas, trying to get a little bit more momentum through the order, as you see Paul Webber and Leon Vessels closing up. Unfortunately, Jude Stewart into the pits, he's getting himself sorted, and unfortunately Steven Kutzer is out of the running by the looks of it. So not ideal circumstances for him, and hopefully we can try and find out roughly what happened to him. So this is a bit of a call out to the likes of the Team Slowpokes to find out what happened to Steven Kutzer that got him unfortunately retiring in the race. Never want to see that, especially in the final race of the season. So hopefully we can get a bit of an idea of what happened to the Team Slowpoke driver and where it's all ending up for him, and what is the goal plan here, as we do see, oh, that is Jude Stewart unfortunately going and spinning out, and does look like a fair amount of dirt on the tires, trying to get the power on to swing the car around. Unfortunately, I think there was also a bit of damage to the car as well. So let's quickly try and take a look. Yeah, unfortunately, it does look like it all went wrong well beforehand, and landed up with a loss of position. This is Noah Hendricks getting on by, and there's Jude already turned round and is caught out on track. Let's see if we can try and figure out what's happening. So Luke Lucchese is around him, looks inside. Oh, major impact between himself and Luke Lucchese, and looks like a bit of miscommunication between the two drivers, and landed up with Luke Lucchese jumping wheel over wheel and going and breaking the car to absolute pieces. Not ideal time out there. Unfortunately, landing up with both drivers going and taking up a major bit of impact here. So Luke Lucchese needing to do a bit of repair work on his car, and now we'll be trying to see it. Troy Dollenchik pulling into the pits with the likes of John Jans van Rensburg, Malcolm Pringle in third, followed by Jan Free, Raymond Duggan, Werner Swart, Luca Logovic, Paul Weber, Leon Vessels, followed by Etienne Swart, Brandon Roberts, Vainon Kursap into 12th, keeping up a bit of momentum out there with the likes of Sean Sims, Francois de Toy, Robbie Teens, Noah Hendricks, Ryan Ottens, Tiernas Porkita, Luke Lucchese trying to limp the car back. You can see with a huge amount of damage to the car, he doesn't want to lose out too much time, and is keeping the little wheelbarrow going at this moment, but will be losing huge positions at the moment. Ruin de Toy trying to make up some time. Dieter Machai, John Stewart going in, unfortunately losing the rear. He's trying to get himself back up and going. Jude Swart into the pits, and Stephen Kutzer unfortunately being our retirement during the course of this race. And yeah, hopefully we can get him towards the commentary box, try and get a bit of an idea of what happened to the driver and figure out where it's all going for him. So we'll have to see how that's going to challenge for our drivers to make their way through. Who's going to be able to see who will climb up the order. At the moment, though, it does look like if Troy Dollenchik can maintain that first place, he will be able to get himself towards the sharp end of the field and ensure that he lands up winning the championship for the pros. It's going to be a bit of hard work there. Jan Free hoping to cut that down as quick as possible and possibly open up a some point difference to the likes of John Jans van Rensburg. So as our drivers now starting to get themselves a little bit more settled in this race, trying to get a little bit more momentum. Leon Vessels keeping a bit of pressure onto the back of Paul Weber ahead of him, but Brandon Robert on the other hand has got Werner Swart locked into his sight, the Proton Velocity car, trying to chase down the likes of Swart ahead of him. Etienne not backing down from this one. Defensive inside line, holds it at bay, but remember he's got the softer compound tires, and they both seem to be very similar on their initial pit stops. Etienne Swart a little bit later now trying to push his way through, while Brandon Roberts has pitted already. He's got himself sorted and will be going in for the long run here to try and maximize the drive, maximize the momentum, and stay in for the fight all the way through, as everyone's hoping to just be part of the race, get all the way through. Etienne Swart holding a very defensive inside line, trying to make sure that Brandon Roberts going to have to work for this one. Goes around the outside. Brandon Roberts going and bouncing over the curbs. You can see the car getting unsettled as he tries to put the drive through, and unfortunately just can't get that pass done and dusted. Leon Vessels onto the back of Weber, trying to chase him down, looks for the inside, second guessed it, tucks right back into the toe, and ensures he could stay in for the fight. Nonetheless, it is not going to be an easy time for Weber, who hasn't so far been out of any part of the race without someone all over the back of him pushing to try and get past. As we see Paul Weber now trying to go hold that outside line with Leon Vessels gunning after it, locks up the anchors and is not able to get that pass done and dusted. Well, Brandon Roberts, let's see if he's going to lock it up. Nope. Goes and rather keeps it braking early, slows the car down enough and maximizes his drive on the exit to try and get onto the back of Swart and carry a lot of momentum throughout this point. Drivers really trying to push those boundaries late on the anchors. Brandon Robert looks for the inside, looks for the undercut, couldn't quite get it ahead, and with that charging ahead on the rear spoiler, he's trying to charge ahead of this car over here for so far the extreme, and that is Etienne Swart doing everything he can to just maintain a good bit of pace, try and figure out where he can get the drive. It's going to be a lot of hard work though, as he keeps up a good solid pace around the corner. Not an easy loss there, hoping as they make their way around. This is going to be a big run for the drivers, as it's turning into a very close race. Etienne Swart, Brandon Robert going and fighting their way through. Robert really trying to make up some time here. Unfortunately, just not having the legs on the way through as they keep the momentum up. Sean Jens van Rensburg, Malcolm Pringle, and the likes of Jan Verree trying to close up that gap as fast as possible. Verree doing everything he can, looked for the inside, couldn't get the pass done. Malcolm Pringle now going to be a little bit of a defensive play here to try and help out his fellow teammate that's trying to really lynch it in for the championship. Verree, who is running second in the championship, is not too far away in the points. He's sitting on 300 points, while Van Rensburg is sitting on 260, and Troy Dolenchik is currently on 320, leading out the points. So it's definitely going to be a close run if the drivers are not able to maximize the points. And for Verree, if he gets the win here tonight and Troy Dolenchik goes down the field, gets out of that top 10, that means it is a win for Verree taking the championship. So he's going to be going and scratching his head what needs to be done to ensure that this man over here, Troy Dolenchik, can lose out a lot of momentum and take away the cars fighting it out. Etienne Swart running in 8th place at the moment. Unfortunately, getting it wrong, broken the rear spoiler of the car. That's going to need to get into the pits. Werner Swart says thank you very much. Nolts Carbon Racing now going and carrying his way through. Etienne Swart, unfortunately, not having an easy time and lands up with a huge bit of damage. But that looks like it could have been with Brandon Roberts. Well, yes, it was. Brandon Roberts sitting with a broken nose on the way through. So that has landed up with a bit of a problem between the two of them. So, there is the contact. Unfortunately, Swart not getting the drive he wanted out of the corner, and Brandon Robert keeping his foot absolutely planted, went over the heads over the heels on these two and lands up with both having to limp the cars to pits. Brandon Robert, unfortunately, couldn't get the car limped back to pits. He is now towing it back, losing out that serious amount of time. Well, Paul Webber's going to take an easy pass over the backs of Werner Swart as they continue the momentum through and really keep themselves going at the moment. So drivers really trying to battle out in these difficult times. Sean Sims all over the back of Veynon Kersop. Team Slowpoke Sim Racing trying to get onto the back of the new driver in the Pandacity Esports, Veynon Kersop, who is really trying to keep up as much momentum as they try and get a little bit more through the order. Jan Verree now back at the leading pack, tries to carry as much momentum through the corners, ensuring he can stay in for the fight and really claw his way back into the running stage of the race. Troy Dolenchik currently running in second. Van Rensburg in the pits, Malcolm Pringle into the pits, and that is going to allow Raymond Duggan to have a shot, but Van Rensburg coming out of the pits will get that position held, and Malcolm Pringle also just may come out of the pits right ahead of Raymond Duggan, but it's going to be close. No, Raymond Duggan gets a pass on Malcolm Pringle, who just couldn't get off that pit limiter early enough and got him to get himself going, unfortunately losing out that bit of momentum. And now will have to fight his way through as the driver's starting to feel the fatigue creeping in huge waves at this point, as drivers are looking to really step up the game and ensure they could stay in for the fight. Everyone hoping that they can just get that little bit of momentum through. Sean Sims all over the back of Veynon Kersop, and this is going to be a very close run between them. So drivers are really having to figure out what they can do as they fight their way through. Veynon keeping a very defensive play at the moment as they make their way around. Sean Sims runs out a little bit wide, and that immediately has Jan Verree trying to cut across, get on the inside and put another lap on him. Just getting that pass done and dusted, not to lose out too much momentum on the way through, and doing a great time nonetheless. So great to see the drivers really pushing their way through. Jan Ferree, Troy Dolenchik in second, Van Rensburg in third. Fourth place, Raymond Duggan, followed by Malcolm Pringle, Luka Logovic, Werner Swart. Paul Webber is running up in 8th position and having a great time out there for his run through. Then we have got Wynand Kersop in 9th, Sean Sims, followed by Robbie Teens, Noah Hendricks. Robbie Teens actually dropping down the positions. Noah Hendricks gets past, done and dusted. Then we have got Etienne Swart, Leon Vessels, Ryan Ottens, Francois Dutoy, along with Brandon Roberts, Tianas Porkita, Luke Lucchese, Rowan Dutoy, Dino Machai, John Stewart out there on the track. Hasn't given up the fight just as yet. Unfortunately, 2 retirements coming in. That's Jude Stewart and Stefan Kutzer, who are unable to get their run through. Well, Wynand Kersop now having to open up the door and now has the likes of our leader coming by. But what has that done for his drive? As Sean Sims all over the back of him, going to have a go at him. Now Wynand Kersop's going to have to get a little bit elbows out here as Sean Sims all over the back of Wynand, fighting his way through. Will have the toe, trying to get a little bit of momentum, gets onto the back straight. Now jump on board with the likes of Sean Sims, brings the revs right up. He's actually clipping the rev limiter quite a bit and costing himself a bit of time, not going up through the gears. Wynand Kersop, a little bit of weaving left to right down the straight, just trying to snap that toe ever so slightly, not trying to do too many movements through the steering. So otherwise, he will then start scrubbing speed by his own. And this is going to have Sean Sims having a good run to try and get that pass done and dusted into 6th, into 5th, into 4th, into 3rd. Oh, the understeer killing him out on the exit. And he gets past Hendricks along with Robbie Teens, but unfortunately Sean Sims is not having an easy time out here on that front, just not gripping up the way he wants. Wynand Kersop having a bit of a tougher time through Sector 2. Now has Sean Sims closing up. Now Sean's going to have the advantage to just try and eye out the opportune moments here. He's going to have to keep on the toes. Late braking at the 3 mark, down into first gear, hooks the car in, really trying to stand on the power early on to try and catch up to Wynand Kersop, who's just standing on the gas and hoping to light those rears up to get as much traction as possible to pull away from Sean Sims at any way possible and ensure that he stays in with the fight. It's going to be a huge time for them and see where they can get going. Both drivers having to figure out what is going to be the advantage here as they fight their way through for just the top 10, 9th and 10th in the race, with Wynand Kersop trying to utilize any bit of momentum to ensure he stays within the fighting chance. Sean Sims, though, leading out the championship, will be looking to try and capitalize as many points as possible for his run as they fight their way through. And our drivers will have to really keep the bit of momentum up. So everyone really focusing on the charge. We'll have to try and figure out what is going to be the opening chance here. And everyone having to figure out what's going to work, as we do see smoke in the back. That's Wynand Kersop pulling into the pits, and Sean Sims very late on the brakes for both of them. And I think that was a little bit of an exciting time for them. So let's quickly try and take a look as they pull into the pits. Wynand Kersop sliding his way around, gets a slide. Ooh, that is going to be a rough one, and I've got a funny feeling he may have got a penalty for that. A late pull into the pits, and yes, it is. Sean Sims comes out before Wynand Kersop. Wynand got a stop hold for getting into the pits unsafely as he slid it into the pits, crossing the solid white lines. Oh man, that is detrimental to one's race nonetheless, and Wynand's going to be skating down the order and just watching as here comes Ryan Ottens to get on by. Francois Dutoy is going to be smiling ear to ear on this as he's going to get a pass. Wynand Kersop rolling, but will be a little bit down the order from where he had planned. At 20 seconds added, 20 to 30 seconds added on for unsafe pit entry is a nightmare. And that's the one thing about this circuit, that if you get caught out, you land up getting absolutely hammered with the pit lane. That is the detrimental part. What you need to try and do is run out wide, tighten yourself. You're going to have to go in rather shallow and then go out wide to then bring yourself straight into the pits without losing that bit of pace, and also that you can gear down nice and easily to get yourself into the corners without losing too much time. Drivers unfortunately not having that aspect coming into play with him, as this is Leon Vessels, as I see our timing software unfortunately getting a little bit held in the process here. Leon Vessels trying to make his way through, as we do see Jan Free into pit lane. Troy Dolenchik will take first place, with likes of Van Rensburg taking second place on the way through, and will be making their way through. Jan Free dropping down the order. Here comes Raymond Duggan trying to get that pass done and dusted. He will be moving right onto the back of Johan Faree. That's just a fraction ahead of him, and now trying to get some heat back into his tires to the Faree, and trying to really power his way through in the monster colors. And now behind the likes of Etienne Swart, that is 10th position that is ahead of him. And Etienne Swart, unfortunately, will be looking to go another lap down on the rest of the field. He's just trying to keep it all in check. Remember, he had that earlier contact that landed up with the rear wing getting busted on the back of him. And drivers are being well aware of just trying to keep it a bit together. You want to finish a race, you want to finish it well, with 58 minutes so far completed of this race. Troy Dolenchik is leading out the pack, with Van Rensburg in second and Faree in third. If it holds as such, the championship for the Pro Division will go to Troy Dolenchik, with Jan Faree taking second place. And then we have got Van Rensburg that will be taking that third place despite giving it everything he's got. So that is if there's no change for our Pro Division. For our Pro-Am though, Sean Sims, who is leading out the championship, is in a bit of a tight wicket for himself, as he has to keep ahead of two cars, and that is Robbie Teens, who is currently a little bit is going and having a great time out on track in 9th position, and Brandon Roberts, who has also been making those strides moving forward, unfortunately down in 15th position, as he got caught out in also an earlier unfortunate contact. Luke Lucchese getting past Dennis Porchita in the background, as here comes Dennis Porchita and Luke Lucchese making their way through. Luke hasn't had the easiest time out on circuit, but gotta give my hats off to all these drivers still pushing on. Only 2 retirements from Jude Stewart and Stephen Kutzer, unfortunately, going and being our retirements due to severe damage to their cars, and drivers opting that maybe it's not able to get the cars out in time to carry on with the race. 20 minutes to go, and left of this race is going to be a difficult time. The lactic acid built up in the legs, in the knees, and the drivers are having to really figure out what's going to be this great run for them. Well, Raymond Duggan, on the other hand, is going to be starting to fear his rearview mirrors, as Malcolm Pringle trying to close up onto the gap of him and really stay in for a bit of a shout. So drivers are having to really think of how this race is going to go. Where are they going to be able to launch their way ahead? Malcolm Pringle, on the other hand, not backing down from the fight. Raymond Duggan needs to keep his eyes firmly planted forward onto the likes of Jan Faree, who is a little bit up the road from him, about 5.7 seconds up the road, but still has an opportunity. If Faree gets it wrong, well, it's going to be a whole different kettle of fish. Faree, on the other hand, is going to see Troy Dolenchik has just gone into the pits, and there's 20 minutes left. Have the drivers got enough in the tank to get themselves through? So for Van Rensburg, he's pitted on lap 29, and we're on lap 36. He's gonna have to do a splash and dash. Dolenchik will be able to get to the end by the looks of it, and Johan Faree maybe will be able to get it to the end, but it's going to be a very tough call there. We do have yellow flags. Oh man, this is for John Stewart, who unfortunately got it all out of shape, and maybe just a tank slapper late on the brakes, tried slowing the car, locks it up. He's able to bring it back, but flat spotting all 4 tires on the way through. And that is going to compromise his run as he tries to figure it through. So Johan Faree is in a bit of an opportune moment, depending on how much he's gone and kept the tires alive and what he's fueling. He pitted on lap 33. We're on lap 36 at the moment with 19 minutes left of the race. In theory, if Faree is able to keep a bit of momentum, he will be able to get the win. Now, the main concerns for him is Troy Dolenchik has got to fall out of that top 5. He's got to get down because there's 20 points separating first place. And Troy Dolenchik, if he gets third, will take the championship with Free locked into second with Jans van Rensburg. Despite finishing in first, will not be able to get the win overall. So this is going to be a definite time. Raymond Duggan, Malcolm Pringle, if they get past Troy Dolenchik, then the championship swings in a different matter. So for Dolenchik, he needs to just focus on the momentum, focus on his drive to walk away with the championship at this point and not get into any of the accidents, not get into any of the fights, and just think it out. He doesn't have to push for that 4 seconds to close up. He can just take it a bit easy. But we are talking about race drivers out here. We are talking about our sim racers that are willing to lay it all on the line. They have an opportunity to show off their skill, and they will want to try and push those boundaries, try and close up those gaps, and really see where they can get going. I mean, this is going to be a very difficult moment for a lot of drivers to ensure that they stay in for the running moment. So everyone having to really work their way through, see where it's going to come out for them. Jan Fourie running in second place at the moment. It's going and wanting just something, maybe a car to slip and Dolenchik to land into the dirt and have to try and figure out how to get out of it. Just a little bit of getting caught in the kitty litter can make a difference for the championship. Well, Brandon Roberts, on the other hand, chasing down Tianis Porchita, is all over the back of him, trying to close up that gap at a rate of knots into the slipstream, pulling himself along. But is he going to have enough? Tianis Porchita of the Team Slowpokes Racing, watching his mirrors, watching left and right as he keeps a bit of momentum, keeping a very tight line into the final corner. Very close over the bump though, and you can see how it jumps the car up onto its shocks and rebound as it's bouncing to get himself a little bit of traction. Unfortunately, does make it rather unstable to put the power down. Got to be so careful not to get too much over rotation there. So far, the final corner has been a pretty easy one, with most drivers only going and losing out by going too wide instead of having the rear snapping out on them. Brandon Robert, on the other hand, a little bit of a touch onto the dirt, cost him some time. He made quick work to get it all back in order and is onto the back of Tianis Porchita, pushing a bit harder yet again. Van Rensburg doing a 1:42.9, and he's trying to break away from likes of Jan Fourie. 6 seconds though, as Troy Dolenchik puts in the fastest lap time of the race, a 1:40.8. That is absolutely blazing out there, and has actually gone and drilled his qualifying time. So that is the fastest sessions race time done and dusted by Troy Dolenchik. After an hour and 5 minutes of flat out racing, he's able to put in that lap time, trying to close up to Jan Fourie, and that is just giving us a bit of an understanding. He's not willing to wait around. He is wanting to really make it work here. As Etienne Swart a little bit slow. Oh, that is Noah Hendricks all over the show. And it gets it out of shape. What on earth happened to Swart? And let's try and see what happened to him. And not an easy time. Looks like he had a bit of a North Track excursion. So let's see if we can get a bit of an easier view of what happened. Oh, just the rear snapped out. Clipped the curb, rear snapped out. He's able to keep the car going. Gets a bit of momentum. Spins out one again. But here comes Noah Hendricks. Onto the dirt. And that's where we saw Noah Hendricks trying to get a little bit put together after when he came out. We're clipping the dirt on the outside. No grip. Unfortunately, costing him a bit of time. Sean Sims onto the back of Leon Wessels, and I don't think these two are going to push one on each other as they are looking into the bigger picture here. But Ryan Otten's all over the back of Noah Hendricks after Noah had that very close off moment that could have landed up in a terrible run. And everyone looking to really try and keep the momentum here. Ryan Ottens is lying in 13th, Noah Hendricks in 12th, with Robbie Teens just in the eye shot of them. And these three are going to be very close to one another. Robbie Teens keeping a very tight inside line, trying to really go on defense on the outside, get a sweep across the nose, and keep up the momentum. Noah Hendricks is going to try and follow his way through as they keep up a bit of momentum. Leon Wessels getting a swap around with Sean Sims, so that is coming into a bit of helping hand of pulling each other along and get back into the fight. Troy Dolenchik going to be closing up on the gap, and this is the fight for second place, as we do see Jan Fourie just ahead, trying to make his way by, and getting caught up behind one of the slowpoke racers and getting really held up. Here comes Dolenchik around the outside, can't get the pass done and dusted, and Jan Farie keeps the defense at the moment, holding back the likes of Troy Dolenchik. Troy doing everything he can, closes up into the toe, pulls himself along, couldn't quite get the pass done and dusted, has to try and keep it as tight as possible, switches round, doing everything he can. A little bit of a slide out on the bit of momentum here. Jan Farie doing all that he can with Dolenchik trying to close up. Now Dolenchik is going to have the advantage of using that push to drive, push pass. He's done so. And I don't think Farie has anything in the bag. Yes, he doesn't. And Dolenchik gets it absolutely utilized, gets the pass done. But can he carry the momentum through? He's stuck on the outside, sweeps across the nose, and Farie has to unfortunately yield that position. As you see, the likes of John Stewart pulling into the pits and the likes of Van Rensburg handing over first place to the likes of Troy Dolenchik and Farie that are going to be fighting it out for the remainder part of this race, I would think, unless something goes wrong with their fuel calculations here, where it will have to be a splash and dash. And I don't think any of these drivers are wanting to do it well, except for likes of Van Rensburg, who's going to be hoping, he's going to be praying that they use that extra litre. Didn't quite consider the extra litre more for the race. Well, it's going to be a close one. And now the gamble is there as Farie locking up the rear left, trying to get it all sorted out and carry a bit of momentum through. Unfortunately, lost our lower drive. Noah Hendricks onto the back of Robbie Teens as they make their way through. Leon Vessels and Sean Sims fighting out between the two of each other. And whoa, nearly contact between Leon Vessels and the likes of Sean Sims, with Leon Vessels going off into the dirt. Leon Vessels got it wrong. He's trying to rejoin Robbie Teens and Noah Hendricks come on by, but Leon Vessels went and lost it with his teammate onto the power and just too early. Oh man, well, trying to race each other, got the line wrong, and that absolutely decimated his chance and losing out quite a few positions. Robbie Teens and Noah Hendricks now having a shot at one another, really pushing as hard as they can go as they fight their way around the circuit, doing everything they can to still give it horns. But for the Team Slowpokes Racing, worst case scenario crept in for the two teammates, nearly landing up, smashing each other right towards the end of the race with 10 minutes to go for the final round of the RaceFace.Pro IndyCar Sprint Series for 2024, and possibly we will only see the IndyCars returning later part of 2025 as we do look on towards the future here at RaceFace.Pro for the iRacing category, and drivers are really trying to give it everything they got. And Vaden Kursop giving us a bit of insight. Wasn't planned and unfortunately got a penalty for crossing the line. Oh man, gutting. And one of those moments that you just get caught out right at the last. And you know what, it's a bit of a gutting blow, but can give it up. Vaden Kursop still out on track, giving it horns and trying to get it to the line, going and finishing up with the motto. Otherwise, you'd have to be in his ear big time. Not only that, you will have the Pandassi team captain going and uttering the same words that I think I've gone and lectured the Pandassi drivers on. Always see it through to the end. Always see the checkered flag and get yourselves across the line there. So it's good to see that the guys are going and giving it everything they got, really trying to persevere and push themselves out a little bit forward. But at the moment, Robbie Teens and Noah Hendricks having a good go at one another. Noah Hendricks tries to look for the inside line, can't get the pass done. Robbie Teens doing everything he can just to go a little bit defensive, holds the outside line, sweeps across the nose. Noah Hendricks trying to sweep around the back, goes out wide, hoping that he can gear it down a little bit better to get the drive and gets a bit of momentum through. It does look like it may have worked out for him. Robbie Teens under pressure. Noah Hendricks up on the inside. Can he carry the momentum through as we go to the roll bar? He is not using that push to drive, push to pass, and Robbie Teens is out wide, over the curves, down into third gear, can't pull it back, the nose not wanting to get through, and you can see how that has absolutely decimated his drive, and now losing out so many positions on the way through. Oh man, that is gutting to see it happen, but unfortunately If you are on the wrong side of the circuit, it will absolutely punish you. Ren DeToy, though, landing up with yellow flags. What happened to Mr. DeToy as he tries to get a bit of momentum through? Oh, a little bit of a jump up on the jacks, and unfortunately, getting a little bit unsteady, and you can see how taking away a bit of that aero underneath the car, that suction that usually goes and helps you out so much, can also become the Achilles heel as it goes and bounces you out, and you start having a porpoising effect. For those that are familiar with Formula One, or want to know about it, it's where the air gets underneath and it lifts the car up. You have a stall out of air, so you go up and down, that lands up what we call a porpoising, and it goes and bounces you up and down, up and down, up and down. Not only does it become a very unforgiving drive for the driver, but also you have the loss of the grip. The tires are now going and lifting slightly off the ground, losing that contact with the tar, especially on a concrete circuit like this. You don't have that tar to work with, that very grainy sort of it. It's very flat here on the concrete circuit, and you have to try and get that little bit of grip. It almost becomes like driving on absolute ice at the moment. So Leon Vessels trying to break away through. Oh, Venon Kursop loses the rear, keeps it out of the wall, but that was definitely a heart and mouth moment for him, nearly having a huge off right towards the end. With so far 1 hour and 13 minutes done and dusted of the race, Troy Dolenchek leads out the pack with Johan Ferree in second place, Janse van Rensburg in third, Raymond Duggan, Malcolm Pringle, Luka Logovic into sixth, Werner Swart, Paul Webber, Noah Hendricks in ninth, along with Robbie Teens in 10th, Etienne Swart in 11th, followed by Sean Sims. Leon Vessels make his way around, as looks like we may have some technical difficulties here, folks. What on earth has gone on? So we're going to attempt to try and bring this back and get an idea of what just happened with our session, and try and get you back to all the action. What on earth has gone on? That was a bit of a strange thing for our commentary side. We've got Tim working frantically to try and bring back all the stuff, but dropping us out. Quite a nightmare case there. Apologies once again for the technical difficulty that just crept in, and we are doing our best efforts to try and get it's all back up and working for the remaining part. So what on earth has gone on that landed up with us being out of the running pack? We'll try and get this up as quick as we can. Ladies and gentlemen, do apologize. Just hang with us for this little moment as we are trying to figure out what is going on and why did we lose sudden disconnection from the sim itself. So we're trying to rejoin in with it for the last 10 minutes. So do, once again, apologies for the run. We'll see how it's going to be going through. And take a look over to our virtual grandstands. A bit of breaking news coming through now. We have spoken about a Johan Berger-Hrubler that will be coming to iRacing in 2025. But it does look like we have got breaking news yet again coming from Werner Skuman, going and putting in that he's going to be joining Vena next season. So Vernon Skuman, for any people that don't know, is the ACC Pandacity monster out in the very angry Panda Mustang. And it looks like he's going to be trying his hand at the world of sim racing as well. So it's going to be into the world of iRacing, which is going to be interesting. Werner Skuman, a very quick driver, and that is another driver moving over from the world of Assetto Corsa Competizione to iRacing. So breaking news there, just heard it now. And quite frankly, that was while we're experiencing the technical difficulties, trying to get back in as quick as we can to see the end of this race. We have to see it through to the end. So we do apologize for the technical difficulties, and really trying to race to get these cameras back online so we can get you back in with all the action after that. And it looks like we have gotten it back in for the last little portion of the race. And now getting themselves going. So we're back in with running order. Troy Dolenchik leading out the pack will be trying to fight his way through to ensure he stays in for the last little bit. Jan Verree in second and Van Rensburg in third. Raymond Duggan in fourth with Malcolm Pringle all over the back of him. Luka Logovic trying to make up some time and really giving him everything he's got. So Luka Logovic going to be really pushing hard, but Malcolm Pringle trying to get onto the back of the likes of Raymond Duggan as they fight their way through. This is going to be a huge one. So a bit of a race to it, and congratulations to Tim for getting the cameras back online. I cannot thank him enough because we want to see the action. We come right back to nose to tail between Raymond Duggan and Malcolm Pringle for 4th and 5th at the moment, battling it out, doing everything they can to really fight their way through. Ryan Ottens in 17th is on the back of Luke Lucchese, who's trying to make that climb all the way through, and it's going to be a tough time. And I do see we have a bit of a special guest that's not in the seat, that's not racing with us in the seat, but it is a driver that usually has a bit of fun. That is Doug Herber. I am going to give Doug Herber a bit of a quick text here just to tell him to please come to the commentary side, because we do want to hear from him, basically because this is the end of the racing for iRacing, except for the endurance happening on the 7th for 2024. And after such a spectacular year's racing, it's going to be a big one. And he has got some huge news as well, which we want to bring out live on air instead of out in the chat and talking with one another into the pit lane there. So we are going to ask Dirk Herbert to be able to come in and have a chat to us in the commentary side of things, give us that big breaking news for 2025 to get you all hyped up. But Raymond Duggan battling it side by side with the likes of Malcolm Pringle, dives on the inside, holding that inside line. Malcolm Pringle around the outside, trying to give it ill drive on the curb, doing everything he can, still keeping very close to one another, both fighting out for 4th and 5th. Oh, contact between the two. Huge contact between the two. Massive damage to both cars. And that is all she wrote out of it. Both landing up. Malcolm Pringle into the unfortunate massive damage. And unfortunately will bring him out. This is going to help Luka Logovic, who's running in 5th at the moment. Will close up in a rate of knots to Raymond Duggan. Could this be the steal of the century for him? We're going to find it. Ryan Ottens, 0.4 of a second off the back of Luke Lucchese, trying to really push as hard as he can to keep the momentum up. But coming across the line, ladies and gentlemen, taking the championship, there goes to Troy Dolenchik, taking the 2024 RaceFace.Pro IndyCar Championship. And with Jan Verree securing 2nd place for the championship in the Pro Division. 3rd place for the Pro Division will go to the likes of Jean Janssen van Rensburg. He threw all the punches. He tried to get it to the end and unfortunately couldn't get first, but walks away with a bronze in the pros. And what a run for him. Raymond Duggan will be next to try come across the line and has had a bit of a race all the way through. Going to be smiling ear to ear, and getting back into that top 5 is going to be a smiling effort for him as he comes across the line. Luka Logovic will come across in 5th place, followed by, well, Malcolm Pringle still in the pits. So here will be Werner Swart looking to try and take it away. He's in 7th. Then we've got Paul Webber, Noah Hendricks, Robbie Teen, Sean Sims, Leon Vessels, Etienne Swart, Vainan Kursop, Brandon Robert, Luke Lucchese, Ryan Ottens will be coming across the line in 17th with Teras Porchita, Francois Dutoy, Ruan Dutoy, Dino Machai, John Stewart, Jude Stewart, and Stefan Kutzer being the rounding pack. But what a run. Here is your champion, folks, in the pros, and getting a huge run. The Sujin driver, the top of the single-seaters, Troy Dolenchik, gets the win. Jan Verree taking 2nd place and rounding off such a spectacular season. And this, well, it's absolutely amazing. Unfortunately for Paul Webber, nowhere to go. He's just waiting to get going. Luka Logovic coming on by, going to be smiling ear to ear on it. And as we got a little bit of formation flying on the way through, And, well, they've asked nicely for it. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, there is the likes of Jan-Janssen van Rensburg with his teammates of the Team Slowpokes, all congratulating him in a formation fly, taking third place in the pro category, and have done it to the best of their ability. And I do think if the points worked out in the favor, we may have seen third place for the likes of our Team Slowpoke Racing, Jan-Janssen van Rensburg, and first place going to Sean Sims for our Pro-Am. What a race, what a time, what an exciting time for it all. And while our drivers make their way through, what a phenomenal effort. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does go and bring the end to that race, but we still have got a couple of interviews to come up, and the first one is going to be a very important interview with our administrator, who has been keeping all iRacing on track for 2024, as they've done an incredible job. We're going to bring up the Team Tryhard Racing, and all the way helping out from the RaceFace admin, Doe Gerber, into the box. Doe, welcome, and what a phenomenal run for yourself. Hang on, let's try and get microphone up. I don't think he could quite hear me there. Doe Gerber, can you hear me? No, not as yet. So let's see what is going on here. There we go. Doe Gerber, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Stephen.
There we go. Fantastic. Well, Doe, what a season, what a year, 2024. We got one more race being the Endurance on the 7th. But what an exciting time, and what a finish here for the IndyCars with all the excitement. And, well, once again, Troy Dolenchik getting the overall victory in the pros, showing off what he can do with that huge climb on the way back.
Yeah, absolutely. Big congratulations there to Troy on his finish. I do have to say, though, that the old toppy Johan Fury has kept him on his toes this entire season in the IndyCars, and we definitely hope to see Johan back again in the new year, flying the flag for us older folk. But yeah, big shout out there to Troy on his finish. Well done.
Well, it's absolutely great stuff. And I mean, this year has been such an exciting year for the world of iRacing here in RaceFace.Pro, especially drivers really going and pushing themselves out of the boundaries and really ensuring that they can take that top flight all the way through. I mean, your thoughts of this entire year from an administrative point, getting to talk to the drivers, being a part of the show, being a part of all the exciting times here at RaceFace.Pro. And what can we expect? I mean, the 7th, we've got the first ever iRacing endurance race here in RaceFace.Pro, which is out in Japan, which is going to be incredible. But also 2025 may have a huge upset. Can you give us a bit of an idea?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, with regards to this current season that's passed between the IndyCars and the GT3s, I just want to say a big thank you, first and foremost, to you, Stephen, for your broadcasting and commentary that you do for us. Without you doing this bit of work for us, the show doesn't happen. So, big thank you to you for that. Then, secondly, I think too, that is, and, probably I would say at an equal level of importance is obviously the drivers that actually put on the show for us, because I have the old saying, right? Without the drivers, there is no show, right? So, big shout out to every single driver. It doesn't matter where you finished in the series. Every single one of you, thank you very much for being so supportive and being here, season after season, and coming back and, just supporting us again. I mean, we've got guys in here, the likes of Luke Lachesi and Johan Fury and even Troy and the guys, that have been racing with RaceFace in its various guises now for probably 3 years already. So, they are the bedrock that we built this whole experience on. And so drivers, thank you very, very much for your participation. We appreciate it. And also I think I did mention in the chat now, the viewers that come in here every week and, come and watch the broadcast, it helps us tremendously with the algorithm and, getting us out there on the big wide scale of YouTube. So thank you very much for that as well. Yeah, and then in terms of the Japan 8 hour that's coming up on the 7th of January, yeah, we're starting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It will be at the legendary Suzuka track. It's going to be a GT3 only class with teams between 2 to 3 drivers. I think the last time I checked now, we've got about 14 cars entered. So yeah, not a massive grid, but I think it will be some really, really good racing. We are also running that on the same day that RaceFace is running their Spa 24-hour on the ACC side. So for the viewers, you're going to be able to, watch both of those races on that Saturday. So there'll be commentary for the 24 hours of Spa, as well as the Japan 8 hour race on the iRacing side. So from a viewer's perspective, you are going to be spoiled for choice in terms of watching some racing with some great commentary from Stephen and the team on that side. But yeah, Stephen, I think we're going from strength to strength now in the iRacing side. I think we can quite confidently say that RaceFace is now the leading iRacing league, probably on the African continent. I'm quite comfortable to say that. And yeah, I think we're just going to bigger and better things in 2025. So yeah, watch this space.
I mean, absolutely exciting stuff. But also, we got to talk about the big news. Now, we did mention that there was a poll put out to the drivers on, unfortunately, the IndyCar is taking a bit of a retirement in the next seasons of racing. But also the huge news coming in that, well, the Superlights were looked at, which is great. The new BMW M2, which is going to be fun. But the biggest shakeup is we're going to the old banger racing. We're going back to the V8s where the Australian supercars are going to be heading onto the circuit, utilizing the new Mustang and the new Camaro that will be coming out most probably. And I know that's got a lot of people uber excited. As a driver that has participated in the championship with old supercars, I can tell you they are some serious amount of fun, but also you gotta really take a deep breath when climbing into behind the wheel of those monsters.
Yeah, absolutely, Stephen. Thus far, I mean, the poll will close on Friday, but thus far, the Australian V8 supercar is leading that poll. So it does look like that will be the replacement for the IndyCar in season 1 of 2025. To your point, what I like about that car is, again, we're sitting with a vehicle with no ABS, no traction control, lock diff, all that good stuff, right? So it's going to be a real test of skill to be fast in that Aussie V8. For those of you who, I mean, everybody on this channel that's watching tonight will probably know what the Aussie V8s are all about. You've probably seen them on YouTube. It's proper banger racing. They do allow for a little bit more door-to-door racing and banging. So not as sensitive as the Indy cars. So I think we're going to see some really good tight, close racing. But it's a car that is not easy to drive on the limit. So it's going to be a steep learning curve, I think, for a lot of the drivers here. But this is what it's all about, right? This is why we do sim racing, is so that we don't have to just drive one type of car all the time. We like to challenge ourselves and learn something new. So yeah, the Aussie V8s will be coming in, but I think it's also important to mention that obviously, the alternate Tuesdays we will be continuing with our GT3 Sprint series. That will be the Premier League for iRacing on our within our league. And that will definitely be returning again in 2025, the GT3 Sprint Series. However, our format for the GT3 Sprint Series will be changing slightly in the sense that we won't be doing the 30-minute sprint races. It will actually be a single 60-minute race with one mandatory stop. So again, testing the drivers a little bit more in terms of endurance and that type of thing. So yeah, the format will be changing a little bit, but those cars will definitely be back in action. And we're looking forward to the Acura NSX joining the GT3 field as well.
Oh, absolutely great stuff. Well, we did have Mr. van Rensburg waiting to come in the commentary. It looks like he's gone off to enjoy the celebrations. But though, absolutely incredible stuff. And just to echo the words, a massive thank you to the drivers, the teams, all being part of the show. A huge thank you to all the petrol heads tuning in from across the globe to go and be a part of the show. And also feel free, head over to Simgrid, look up RaceFace.Pro, be a part of the racing as we head over on the 7th of December for the first ever RaceFace.Pro iRacing Endurance. Some say you can be a little bit more refined when going into these type of races. For those that know the joke, you know the joke. For those that don't, well, then ask someone that's been around the block 3 times across. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us here at RaceFace.Pro. We really appreciate it. Doug Herber, thank you to you and your entire team going and bringing iRacing to RaceFace.Pro and giving us a brilliant 2024. And we look forward to seeing what happens in 2025. It's going to be a great one. It's going to be exciting. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification icon. Keep on watching because tomorrow night we have got the RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Sprint Series. They're going to be heading out onto the circuit at 8:10. On Thursday, we will be going and running our RaceFace.Pro PokerBet GT3 Championship also at 8:10. Not to be missed. Definitely want to be there enjoying part of the fun. It's going to be an exciting one. It's going to be some close racing nonetheless from our ACC drivers as we build up to a really exciting time heading towards next week, the 7th of December, where we will be broadcasting both the 24-hour and the 8-hour at the same time. That is a RaceFace first to have a simultaneous stream and creating a bit more of a festival of sort of endurance racing. So do tune in for that. And we also heard the breaking news. Werner Skuman going to be joining Bego Krobler, and I can officially say, then, wait, does that mean Werner Skuman is partially retiring, the same as Bego Krobler from ACC full-time? Well, we'll have to find out. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us. On behalf of Doug Herb and the entire RaceFace team, and here at the THC Productions, we'd like to say thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Enjoy the evening. And like always, Doug, I think you're so used to these words right now, it's driven you insane. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody. With all the amazing racing that comes to you weekly, we have to give acknowledgement to our sponsors. Without them, this would not be possible here at RaceFace.Pro. So starting off with our first sponsor, let's go and take your hats off to PokerBet. For all the tournaments, for all the cash games, daily free rolls, and sports betting, there's no better place to be and win with PokerBet. With it all revved up and you're looking for high speed, whether you're into drag, drift, or even long circuit, Red Star Raceway has got you covered. As we take a look off to all our machinery needs, head over to Oddendorf Machinery Mart. Remember to keep it slick with SA Lube, 20 years of Castrol distribution. Sliding in to keep you on your toes, Scallywags Drift Academy will keep you right at the top of the pack. And if you're looking for all your streaming needs, head over to Tenvo Tech for all the overlays. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's been an honor having you. We'll see you next time right here from the TH